Mischievous Genius Maggie's Tickle Tale by Danny McKinley and Tian Jiangwen. It was a lovely day at the animal sanctuary, and Kiba Elfie prepared to feed the llamas. Do you know what a llama is? Llamas are not actually monkeys. They are prosimians related to monkeys, like humans are, but not actually monkeys. That day, the llamas were getting dragon fruit, purple and white dragon fruit. Kiba Elfie knew that some of the llamas didn't like the white kind, and part of being a good keeper was knowing every animal individually. Have you ever tried dragon fruit? Did you like the white one or the purple one more? Effie stood in the sanctuary kitchen and scooped the fruit from inside the skin, placing it onto the feeding trays until there was enough fruit for all 10 of the llamas. What do you think he used? A spoon? Oh no, Effie had stopped keeping spoons because of the mischievous genius Maki. We'll meet Maki later, but for now, let's get back to our fruit plate. Keeper Elfie kept forgetting that there were no spoons and had to keep thinking of new ways to prepare the food. He looked around, wondering what he could use. What do you think he tried? The baby's tummy. Did you guess right? It wasn't the best, but Elfie made it work. Once prepared, Keeper Elfie took the tray of fruit and headed towards the llama enclosure, wondering how his furry friends were doing. Elfie keyed in the code. Can you use the clue to figure out the code? Psst. What can you count that could be a clue? Yes. 2, 6, 4, 6. The door swung open and Elfie hopped in. Yes, that's right, he hopped on one leg. Maggie was always trying to figure out when Keeper Elfie was coming by, listening for the footsteps. When Maggie heard the footsteps, he would plan his escape. So, to stop Maggie from figuring out when he's coming, Keeper Elfie keeps trying new ways to hide his footsteps. Can you help him? As the llama came running to the smell of the fruit, Keeper Elfie began to count them. How many were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Are you sure? That means there was one missing. It looked like the mischievous Maggie had escaped again. That's right, again. Maggie loved fruit, but Maggie loved escaping and exploring the sanctuary even more. Let's meet Maggie. Maggie is one of the ring-tailed llamas at the sanctuary, and Maggie loves escaping so much so that the keeper all call Maggie the mischievous genius. There was one time where Maggie had made a catapult from trees in the enclosure. Keeper Elfie found Maggie clinging to a post inside the lion enclosure. So Keeper Elfie built a higher fence so that Maggie couldn't catapult himself into danger again. Another time, Maggie dug a tunnel using empty coconut shells. Keeper Elfie found him shivering near frozen solid in the penguin enclosure. Brrr! So Keeper Elfie stopped feeding the llamas fruit with hard shells after that, stopping Maggie from having the tools to try it again. In case you were interested, I think you should call a frozen lemur a femur, which is not to be confused with the femur because that is a bone in your leg and doesn't look like a frozen prosimian. Then there was a time that Maggie used all of the leaves off the floor to make a bush and had tried to sneak out of the door when Keeper Elfie came in with the food. So Keeper Elfie never trusted plants again after that. Have you ever walked past bushes and have a rustle in the leaves? That could be Maggie. Next time, why don't you call his name and help Keeper Elfie just in case? Keeper Elfie went out and started searching everywhere. Maggie was nowhere to be found. Did you have any luck? Keeper Elfie rushed back through the zoo, terrified that Maggie would be in danger again. It took Effie 2 days to find Maggie. Riding past the gift shop, there was a very faint noise coming from the stuffed animals shop. Keeper Elfie had been walking at the sanctuary long enough to know that none of the stuffed animals could make a noise, or could they? There was only one way to know for sure. Keeper Elfie, one by one, tickled each of the teddies. As he got towards one of the lemurs on the shelf, there was a shrill "ee." Maggie had sat as still as a statue for 2 whole days. That's a long time if you're counting. I bet you couldn't do even stay still for 20 seconds. Try it right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You cheated. Your eyes were moving. Can you imagine how hard it was for Maggie to stay so still? Keeper Elfie scooped Maggie up into his arms and started carrying him back towards the lemur enclosure. Maggie couldn't struggle because after 2 days of not eating or drinking, he had absolutely zero energy left. As he walked, Effie gave Maggie some watermelon before he ruffled Maggie's fur and closed the door so Maggie couldn't escape again. At least, that's what Keeper Elfie hoped. This is a walk of fiction. Maggie is at home with the real Elfie. At least, the last time I checked, he was.